Shh, don't make a sound. Someone's downstairs. I was fast asleep when my boyfriend suddenly covered my mouth. His hand was clamped tight. His palms like I could tell he was terrified. I glanced at my phone. It was 1:30 a.m. We live in a small duplex apartment. The lobby downstairs has 24-hour security. But now, he was telling me someone was inside. The bedroom door was still closed, but it wasn't locked. Through the gap at the bottom of a sliver of light peeked through. I remember clearly. I turned the lights off myself before bed. But now, someone downstairs had turned. Who is it? What are they doing? My boyfriend whispered to me, I'm going to lock the door. But there was a problem. The key to our room was still in the lock on the outside. To lock it, he'd have to open the door, grab the key, and then lock it from. It would inevitably make noise. I broke out in a cold sweat. I grabbed my phone and texted the police. They replied quickly, saying they were on their way, but it would take 30 minutes. We only rent this apartment. We don't have the property managers nor the number for the security guard. In those 30 minutes, if my boyfriend opened that door, the person downstairs would surely know. 30 minutes is more than enough time for them to kill us. I grabbed my boyfriend's hand, unable to hide my panic. He was just as tense. His lips were trembling, yet he still gave my arm a reassuring pat. I watched him creep toward the door and peer through the gap at the bottom. A faint sound came from downstairs. It was a strange sound, like nails scratching against something. Then, the sound of a suitcase being unzipped. The person downstairs was rummaging through, but the only things in there were clothes from my business trip last week. I hadn't even had time to, and there was nothing of value inside. My boyfriend quickly opened it, pulled out the keys, and shut it. He locked it all in one swift motion. We both let out a long sigh of relief, but inevitably, we still made a little noise. I prayed that the person downstairs hadn't heard us, but he had. We heard the sound of someone coming up the footsteps were loud and heavy. It sounded like a man. I checked the time. The police were still 25 minutes away, and we were here alone, without any friends or neighbors nearby who could help. Just to be safe. My boyfriend had me hide under the bed. I crawled under, trembling, clutching my phone. No, the police were 20 minutes away. Then, we both heard it. The footsteps stopped abruptly. It sounded like he was right at the door. My heart was in my throat. Cold sweat kept pouring down my face. Then, from outside, came a voice I never expected to hear. Hearing that voice, my emotions were like a roller coaster. The tension suddenly snapped and I relaxed. I knew that voice so well. It was my best friend, Zhao Liang. He's a traffic cop. Since Zhao Liang is a close, he knows both me and my boyfriend. Before we gave our cat, he used to look after it when we were away on business. So he knew our door code. I didn't know why Zhao Liang would choose to drop by unannounced at this hour. But my heart finally settled. Just as I was about to crawl out from under the bed, I heard Zhao Liang say in a very grave tone, Shanmai, is Xiaoxi in the room? Xiaoxi is my boyfriend's name. I was just about to answer, when a hand suddenly reached out. It was Xiaoxi, covering my mouth. He had a very strange look on his face. He shook his head at me. Zhao Yang continued on the phone. Listen carefully to what I'm about to say. If Xiaoxi comes back, you must not let him in. Call the police immediately. I froze. Instinctively, I asked, why? Zhao Yang's voice was heavy with dread. There was a hit and run on Biking Road. The victim was a 60-year-old man. After hitting and injuring him, the driver heartlessly ran over him, killing him on the spot. I just checked the surveillance footage. The driver was Xiaoxi. He fled the scene in his car. I figured he might have headed home. My whole body went cold. I looked at Xiaoxi in disbelief. This man had always been so gentle. If he saw a dying homeless man on the street, he was the type who would give him mouth to mouth. I couldn't believe Xiaoxi would commit a hit and run, let alone be so cruel as to repeatedly run over a 60-year-old man until. But Zhao Yang had no reason to lie. He's my best friend. We were childhood sweethearts who grew up together. Before I met Xiaoxi, whenever I was in trouble, Zhao Yang was always the first one by my side. Breathing heavily, I stared at desperately searching his eyes for the truth. Xiaoxi sighed. He reached out to touch my head, but I flinched away. In silence, he typed a message on his phone. Believe me, I'm not the one who killed them. It was Zhao Yang. I saw his license plate. I didn't call the police because I wanted to give him a chance. But now that I think about it, Zhao Yang saw me right then. He's here to kill me and keep me quiet. His words left me confused once again. In that moment, I didn't know who to believe, Xiaoxi or Zhao Li, but instinctively, I still leaned toward Xiaoxi. I forced myself to calm and remembered what I had heard earlier, the sound of a suitcase being unzipped. I had driven for my last business trip, and I've always had a habit of eating fruit. I don't like using provided utensils, so I always keep a fruit knife in my suitcase. Both Xiaoxi and Zhao Liang knew about this habit. Why would Zhao Liang bring a knife up here? Could it really be like Xiaoxi said? That Zhao Liang came here to hurt me? Just then, the doorknob began to rattle. Shamai opened the. I just got some news about something even more important. Let me in. The rattling of the doorknob grew more frantic. Zhao Yang's voice sounded increasingly desperate. Let me in. Terrified, I huddled into Xiaoxi's arms. Then, I caught a faint metallic scent of blood mingled with a floral fragrance. The mixture made me feel nauseous. I pulled away from Xiaoxi. Why did you suddenly put on perfume tonight? I did it to cover up the smell of blood. But it's not what Zhao Liang said. Shamai, do you trust me? Why do you have blood on you? Xiaoxi sighed and showed me his arm. When I was leaving, I saw a kitten stuck in a gap. It scratched me while I was trying to rest. That sounded exactly like something Xiaoxi would do. He's always been soft-hearted, the kind of person who sees it and can't help but feed it. I let out a sigh of relief and looked at Xiaoxi apologetically. Xiaoxi, I'm sorry. I was so overwhelmed. I didn't even notice your injury. Outside, Zhao Liang heard our... He began rattling the doorknob even more violently. Samai, whatever you do, don't believe... Xiaoxi... The wound on his hand isn't from a cat at all. It's from that old woman. After Xiaoxi ran her over 3 times, he got out to see if she was actually dead. She still had 1 breath left, and she grabbed onto Xiaoxi with a... Samai, you're not a cop. Can you really tell the difference between a human scratch and an... Zhao Liang was getting more and more... I glanced at the time on my phone. 15 minutes until the police arrived. I finally spoke. Zhao Liang, let's all just calm down. I've already called the police. They'll be here in 15 minutes. Samai, why would you call the police? Those words made my heart sink to the bottom of my chest. Zhao Liang, did you really kill that old one? It wasn't me, it was Xiaoxi. You can't let the police in. I didn't want to say anything more to Zhao Liang. I just waited in silence for the police to arrive. Then, I noticed a crack in the wardrobe. There was a pair of feet. My heart started racing wildly. I instinctively moved a bit further away. 12 minutes until the police arrived. Xiaoxi, what's in the wardrobe? I stared intently at Xiaoxi's face. Xiaoxi, he seemed to have anticipated my question. He pulled open the wardrobe door. It was a mannequin, but my tension didn't ease in the slightest. Samai, remember that homicide case I took on last week? This mannequin is what I use for crime scene reconstruction. Don't listen. Trust me. 8 minutes until the police arrived. If I could just hold on for 8 more, the truth would finally come out. But what Zhao Liang said next sent me spiraling back into doubt. Shambai, do you really know Xiaoxi? We've been dating for a year, but honestly, I know very little about his work. I don't even have his colleagues' contact info. Looking back now, Xiaoxi never introduced me to any of his friends. Xiaoxi is an orphan. He has no parent. He grew up in an orphanage and worked his way up to become the top-tier lawyer he is today. I've always admired him for that. I felt so lucky to have a boyfriend who was both handsome and the perfect part. Shamay, I know this is hard to believe, but I'm sending you the evidence right now. Xiaoxi has been lying to you this whole time. He sent me the so-called evidence. It was a photo of Xiaoxi, taken inside an abandoned apartment. His expression looked dark, a complete stranger compared to the man I knew. Fear washed over me. Why were you there? Xiaoxi had his hand in his pocket. There was a suspicious bulge. He slowly started walking toward me. Shamai, let me explain. Xiaoxi, what's in your pocket? I clearly saw his hand tremble. Then, Zhao Liang's voice came through the phone again. Shamai, I actually lied to you. I'm not a traffic cop. I'm a detective with the Major Crimes Unit. I've been watching Xiaoxi for a long time now. He's our primary suspect. We believe Xiaoxi is a cold-blooded killer, and you're his next target. Shamai, that abandoned building is exactly where we found the body. We haven't made it public yet, because this killer has a sick ritual. After the act, he likes to return every 3 days to admire his master. Zhao Liang's words sent a chill down my spine. Xiaoxi pulled the object out of his pocket. It was a beautifully wrapped gift box. Suddenly, today is our 1-year anniversary. I want to believe Xiaoxi, but he really did lie to me. I asked him, pained. Xiaoxi, why did you lie to me? Where exactly is the place in that photo? Is what Zhao Liang said true? There was only 1 minute left until the police arrived. By all accounts, they should have at least reached the building, but I didn't hear any sirens. Then, I received a text. Miss, we're at the door of Unit 2701. I'm right here. Hurry, come inside. The code is 987,000. Xiaoxi's expression turned very strange. He looked at me with a peculiar glint in his eyes. Miss, we're inside. But where are you? The text stung my eyes like a cold blade. Panicking, I screamed downstairs. I'm right here. I'm right here. But another text arrived quickly. Miss, I hope this isn't a prank. We're already inside your home, but there's no one here. With a chill running down my spine, Zhao Yang, where exactly am I right now? Shamai, we're at your place. Unit 2701. You're all lying to me. This isn't Unit 2701. My fingernails dug deep into my palms, but I couldn't feel any pain. Outside the door was my best friend of 10 years. Inside was the man I'd loved for a year. But now, I couldn't trust either of them. They both had secrets they were keeping from me. I dialed the police directly. The officer on the other end sounded impatient. Miss, Please stop wasting our resources. We are at Uni 2700, but you aren't here. Suppressing my tremors, I spoke through my tears. I don't know where I am, but I really need your help. Can you track my phone's location? Then, the officer said that made me feel like I was falling into an abyss. Miss, you're currently on an unnamed island 300 kilometers away from the city center. I am on an island. Saying those last few words seemed to drain every ounce of my strength. I desperately wished this was all just a bizarre dream. Everything here is identical to my apartment. You need to replicate my home in such meticulous detail. This person must know me inside and out, and the only people who know me that besides Xiaoxi are Zhao. Miss, please stay calm. We have already dispatched a rescue help to reach you as quickly as possible. But miss, you must listen very carefully to what I say next. There's a serial killer near you right now. His name is Yunlin. We have been tracking him for 5 years, but during these 5 years, he's had to change his appearance. He even kills his victims to steal their identities. Yunlin is incredibly cruel, but he is also highly intelligent, and he loves role-playing. In his last case, he played the role of the victim's husband for 6 whole months. He thrives on that feeling. The reason the victims never suspected a thing is because Yunlin can perfectly mimic anyone's voice, and before he chooses a target, he conducts a rigorous screening process from physique and voice to height. He chooses someone as similar as possible. We have already contacted headquarters. We believe Yunlin's next target is you. I bit down hard on the tip of the pain helped me stay sharp and calm. I am on a remote island. So how did Zhao Liang find his way here? Unless he is young. He's the one who moved Xiaoxi and me here, staging this entire drama to toy with us like mice in a trap. Xiaoxi grabbed my ice-cold hand. Shamai, what did the officer say? Where on earth are we? Xiaoxi told me Zhao Liang was actually young. We have to get out of here. Zhao Liang's voice was growing more and more frantic. Shamai, this really isn't room 2000. I didn't tell you the truth at first, because I was afraid he would— No, I shouldn't call him Xiaoxi. He is Yunlin. I know this man all too well. He is a pathological actor. He takes his performances to a sick level. When I realized he was moving you here, I secretly hid inside the helicopter. Shamai, you have to— This is my police ID. An ID card was slid through the gap. I picked it up to take a look. It really was Zhao Liang's police, but it was possible Yunlin had killed Zhao Liang and was now impersonating him. Shamai, listen to me. I'll explain everything to you. But there's no time right now. Remember the first time we met on the subway? What was the first thing I ever said to you? You said my eyes were the most beautiful eyes you'd ever seen. A gentle smile played on Xiaoxi's lips. Then, he suddenly pulled me toward the window. Shanmai, run. The door was suddenly forced open a crack by Zhao Liang. And just at that moment, Uncle's voice came through the phone again. Miss, we finally know who the killer— double quotes dot is actually he is. Suddenly, the call cut off. My phone had run out of battery at that exact moment. Shanmai, run. Outside the window was an open. Jumping from this height would only result in a few scrapes. I didn't hesitate. I jumped and landed on the grass below. I shouted up at Xiaoxi. Hurry up and come down too. Xiaoxi already had one leg over the— Suddenly, Zhao Liang yanked Xiaoxi back. I won't let you hurt Shanmai. I've protected her for over 10 years. How could I ever let her get hurt? The two of them were locked in a fierce struggle. The moment I heard those words, I was completely stunned. But I didn't have time to think. I ran forward frantically, clutching my phone. The police should be here soon. I have to find a place to hide. Then, I found a narrow crevice. I ducked inside. My phone screen was still dead. I hated myself for not charging it before bed. I cried for a while, then calmed down and tried to clear my head. If Zhao Liang is actually Yunlin, when exactly did he kill the real Zhao Liang? Plastic surgery requires let alone a procedure that it turns one person into another. 2 months after Xiaoxi and I met, I went away on a business trip that was the only Xiaoxi and I were apart for and as for Zhao Liang, I didn't actually see him that often, so it would have been easier for Yunlin to replace him. I got home last night at 7:05. After reporting my work to my boss, Xiaoxi arrived home too. I didn't talk much to Xiaoxi. I just showered, turned off the lights and went to— Xiaoxi was holding me before which means I was moved to this island. While I was sleeping, Yunlin recreated apartment 2700 specifically to move me here. But why go to all this trouble? Right then, I heard footsteps nearby. I covered my mouth and held my breath. The footsteps got closer and finally stopping right in front of the crevice where I was hiding. I saw a pair of shoes. It was Xiaoxi. I breathed a sigh of relief. Just as I was about to crawl out, I heard Xiaoxi's voice. Where did Shanmai hide? I was just about to speak, to tell Xiaoxi I was right here, when I heard Zhao Liang's voice again. I don't know. That woman is even craftier than I imagined. It felt like a bucket of ice water had been dumped over my head. I froze right where I stood. What are they talking about? Why can't I understand a single word? Weren't they just at each other's throats? I didn't think she'd be so quick to ditch you and run off on her own. Haha, brother Xiaoqi, looks like you've lost your touch. Journalists are always a bit more cautious. But we had fun, didn't we? There were times I could barely keep a straight face. If her voice hadn't sounded so sincere, I would have burst out laughing. Anyway, what's it like being with a journalist? I clenched my fists tight. My whole body went cold with rage and confusion. Just then, my phone screen suddenly lit up. This phone acts up like that sometimes. It'll suddenly turn back on a while after the battery dies. I saw a text from the police. Miss, we just received new information. Yunlin isn't working alone. There are two of them. They are brothers. The older one is Yunlin. The younger one is Yuncheng. More than 6 months ago, they murdered Zhao Liang and Xiaoxi. They've been living with you, masquerading as them ever since. Do not believe anything they say. On their way to your apartment last night, Yunlin and Yuncheng hit a 60-year-old man. They ran over him 3 times. The man did not survive. These brothers are cold-blooded monsters. We're about to reach the island. Please, stay hidden. My body trembled uncontrollably. A wave of intense nausea surged within me. I've actually been with a sharing a bed for all this time. Suddenly, a familiar face appeared at the mouth of the cave. I glared at the man with pure hatred and resentment. Are you Yunlin or Yuncheng? I'm Yunlin. He had a sickening, smug look on his face. It was the look of a cat that had and was finally baring its claws. Shanmei, do you know how Xiaoxi died? Until his last breath. He was, even when I had broken him beyond recognition, he was still weeping, pleading with me not to hurt you. Shanbei, you really are a lucky woman, to have 2 men protecting you like that. Zhao Liang was the same. For a cop, his pain taught. But the moment I mentioned you, he became utterly pathetic. He told me I could torture him however I wanted, as long as I spared you. I let out a gut-wrenching scream. Yunlin, Yuncheng, I've already called the police. Aren't you too afraid? Yuncheng burst into a fit of exaggerated laughter. Shanmei, do you really think the police were telling you the truth? What do you mean? Shanmei, there are no police. They're not. Why? Because the officer you were talking to was me. Yuncheng waved his phone. Then he spoke in a voice identical to the policeman on the phone. Miss, please, you must be careful. How is that possible? Even if you can mimic voices, the texts I sent and the calls I made were clearly to the emergency line. Shanmei, while you were asleep, I swapped out your SIM card. This card has been specially configured by us. No matter what number you dial, it gets redirected straight to Yuncheng. You went through all this trouble just to set a trap. Is this fun for you? Fun, of course it is. Shanmei, you're a smart woman, and smart people deserve a more sophisticated. You should be grateful. This is the ultimate honor we've bestowed upon you. Yunlin said, pulling out a knife. Let me see if a smart person's brain looks any different from the rest. But in the next moment, Yunlin looks at me with a strange expression. A pistol is pointed right at his chest. Stay back. If you take 1 step, I'll shoot. Yuncheng, you don't want to see your brother die right in front of you, do you? Yuncheng doesn't dare move. He glares at me with pure malice. Yunlin is stunned at first. Then he bursts out laughing. Shanmei, you've really impressed me. How did you find us out? If as a journalist, I didn't even have this much intuition, I might as well quit. You played the part well enough, but there were 2 fatal flaws. Xiaoxi is allergic to peanuts, but you ate them without batting an eye. Zhao Liang hates horror movies, yet Yuncheng's computer is full of them. Yunlin, Yuncheng, a can never perfectly become someone else. You like playing roles? Coincidentally, so do I. Shanmei, I really do like you. I knew you were going to make a move on me tonight, so I contacted the real police. They'll be here any minute. Just give yourselves up. Yunlin laughs. He suddenly lunges and grabs me by the throat. I try to pull the trigger, but nothing happens. Shanmei, did you think I'd be that careless? I swapped the gun a long time ago. I have plenty of time to kill you before the police arrive. This island was carefully chosen by us. We have more than enough ways to escape. Shanmei, I really do like you. If I were a normal man, I'd probably find a girlfriend just like you. But I'm not a normal man. Shanmei, I'll let you die easy. That's how much I like you. Yunlin's grip on my neck slowly tightens. Suddenly, the smile vanishes from his face. A knife is buried deep in his back. Yunlin, you were too arrogant. So, she never realized that I wasn't actually. Yunlin tried to get up, but he was knocked unconscious once again. I stared at him in a daze. Looking at his face, I felt a strange sense of familiarity. You're Zhao Liang. Shanmei, you finally recognize me. You're alive. A wave of overwhelming joy surged through my heart. Tears streamed down my face. Just then, the roar of helicopters filled the sky. SWAT teams descended from above. Shanmei, I know you have many questions. I'll tell you the whole truth once we're back. Half an hour later, we arrived at the police station. I'm actually a police officer. My identity is a traffic cop. I staged my own kidnapping by Yen. I killed him when he let his guard down. Then I took his place by disguising, living by your and Yunlin's side ever since. And with that, a major criminal case tracked for 5 years was finally solved. But Xiaoxi, she's never coming.